Part 2, seafloor spreading simulation. The 250 milliliter bottle with hot water will be placed in the center of the tank. So here's our 250 milliliter bottle again. It will be placed in the center of the tank. It does not have any, it has some dye to it, but right now it doesn't have any water in it. I'll do that momentarily. Wooden blocks will represent South America and Africa. They will be placed in the tank so that the two are approximately 5 centimeters apart on opposite sides of the hot water bottle. South America will be placed to the left of center and Africa to the right of center. So they'll be placed inside of the liquid here, and the other one will be right here. Hypothesis number 2. Predict what will happen to the distance between the models of Africa and South America when placed in the tank above a new bottle of hot water. Please make sure you also answer the why. So your prediction is your hypothesis. If I put the hot water inside of the tank below the two sections of wood, then what will occur? Then also make sure you do the why. While you guys are working on that, I'm going to get this all set up and ready to go.
You can put it in an if-then statement.
Put it in an if-then statement. You need any help? I don't write this one.
Yes, sir. Tyler, you better keep on trying to do it.
Hello, microphone. Thing. Hey, don't.
And then people live second hour.
Actually, people who will be watching this will be watching people. So,
Of second hour.
On the second hour.
oh yeah. So, it's your
So I'm
fault.
guessing that you should probably have at least 2 sentences here. Maybe
We'll
more.
have a compound sentence.
Probably still going to have 2 sentences because the hypothesis should be a compound sentence, and then after that your explain why should be probably be another sentence.
That thing looks like a small bottle of red Kool-Aid.
It does look like red Kool-Aid.
You can still drink it though.
Are there still going to be cold bottles? Yes, we're doing the exact same lab as part 1. The only difference is we are going to put our Africa and our South America floating above that red bottle. Okay?
But that means they're touchy.
They're going to be 5 centimeters apart. Yes, sir.
Would that be safe to drink?
Yes, I
Yeah,
would try.
food coloring is not bad for you.
It's gonna die.
Unless you're allergic to red food coloring.
Don't fill it up as hard as you did yesterday.
I will not.
Yeah, leave like a quarter inch or something like that. Yeah, put a little more.
No, because all the bottles. Hey, you can sure do as you want.
Alright, so here are our cold bottles. They have ice water in them, so they're much colder than the water we just added to the tank.
So why they say?
So if they're colder, what is the density of the water inside these? Greater or less than the water that's around it?
Greater.
Density is greater.
Looks like your thing's still gonna overflow in the
This is hot water. You'll notice that inside of it there are some washers that are all stacked up. Why would we put washers in the bottom of that when we have hot water here?
So when the water comes out, it'll fill up with cold water and it'll want to rise. Or it'll fill up because it has warm water in it and it'll just want to float.
Because it has warm water in it, it wants to float. Because that water is less dense than the surrounding water. So we're going to put it in it. It's going to sink because we put those washers in there, allowing it to be a little bit heavier. There's a little more density to it.
So if you put like ice water in that, it would sink, but warm water would float?
Yes. I didn't have to put washers in these two because they are much denser than the surrounding water.
And they're very big.
Yeah, and they're
It
huge.
looks like it's not
Okay.
going to take much and it's going to be overflowing again.
So here's our red water. It's warm. We did our hypothesis. We did the why. Let's conduct our experiment. I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to actually turn this down to begin with. And then I'm going to just let it set while I put the blocks of wood on top.
Oh
Lost a little bit of water there.
Get your hands in there.
Back there might get a little
It's okay.
But in Africa and South.
So you got
Africa
Brazil
and South
and
America.
Nice.
Smooth move.
Where's
I guess
the-
that's
you
how
got a
the
flip
Sahara
flop
Desert
there.
came about.
They don't really much matter.
Okay.
Oh no, South America.
Floating away already.
Gotta get it over here.
Bad.
Losing so much water right now.
That's okay.
Want some help? Oh,
We
there goes
still,
Africa.
we still get the
You want to use a paper
representation.
towel?
It needs paper towel.
Nope, we're alright right now.
Calm
Just
down.
observe. I'll clean up later.
Okay, no.
No convection. One's floating higher than the other one.
Hey, I know it.
I was right.
One's floating higher than the other.
But they would move and the water will spread
And then they'll sink down because when it cools and it'll current.
out. Oh my god, if wood sings, I
Then
will be
when
so
did they
happy.
come back to get? Oh, I
What
know
sinks
what.
all the time? It's not true.
Alright, just observe.
Yo, see, one's lower. That's why one's lower than the other one is.
Yes, sir. What's your question?
It's not a question, it's a statement. Every time I see this, it reminds me of Deep Blue Sea.
What?
Because when a shark bites off a person's leg, the blood comes rushing out. It looks like that.
Our distance away is
You've seen Deep Blue Sea? Where they
20-something.
39.5 centimeters. 39.5 centimeters. So in the blank that says wait 60 seconds, then measure and record the new distance. It is 39.5 centimeters. Observation number 2. Describe what happened. Was your hypothesis correct? Why or why not? So in this instance, we should have 3 sentences. First sentence to describe what happened. The second sentence to answer whether your hypothesis was correct, so you accept or reject your hypothesis. And then finally, the third sentence, why or why not. If your hypothesis was correct, why was it correct? If it was incorrect, why was it not correct?
Did you just put my hypothesis was correct because, then explain why or why not?
That would be a compound sentence. Yep, that would be fine. Yes, sir.
I think that jug on your right hand side is a little warmer because the warm water is starting to seep through like tiny bit.
Is it?
Yeah, it's more than halfway across up here in the front.
Yo, one's floating higher than the other too.
It's because the water's above them, actually.
Oh, maybe that's why.
Floating
Can you,
up and
like,
around.
move? Thank you.
Why is Africa higher? I mean, lower down than no.
More buoyancy. Might be different types of wood.
That makes sense.
Then it's not a
Let
valid
me get that.
experiment.
It turned dark, I saw.
So-
Yeah, they're
Right.
different
Move your
densities.
binder.
Incorrect experiment.
Alright.
I'm not there.
Most of you are kind of wrapping this up right now. As you are wrapping this up, I'm going to read through each one of the extension questions. We are going to answer those. You'll have about 10 minutes to finish those extension questions before we move on with our plate tectonics section 3 here. So number 1, how would the spreading rate of the wooden blocks compare to the rate at which South America and Africa are actually spreading? Number 2, if new material is always emerging from divergent boundaries, and both the Atlantic and Pacific sea floors contain spreading centers, why is only the Atlantic Ocean becoming larger? And then finally, number 3, the famous San Andreas Fault in California is probably the best example of a sliding plate boundary, a transform boundary. Can you think of a way convection currents could be used to show this type of boundary? So in this experiment, what could we do to maybe show transform boundary where two plates are sliding horizontally past one another? All right? Go ahead and finish up those extension questions and your final observation, and I will get those papers from you in a little bit.
It's confusing.
I'm stuck on the last question.